Have you ever been stuck working with a legacy system? You know, the kind that's old, super complicated, and honestly a little scary to even touch? Well, if that sounds familiar, this one's for you. Today we're going to talk about a really powerful strategy for modernization that has an awesome name, the Strangler Pattern. It's all about how you can gracefully and safely retire that old system, one piece at a time.
So here's a weird question for you. What on earth could modern software possibly have in common with an ancient strangler fig from the rainforest? It sounds random, I know, but trust me, the answer is the key to one of the most clever solutions in software design. The connection is actually brilliant.
Okay, let's set the stage here and talk about something I'm sure many of you know all too well, the legacy system trap. This is that horrible spot so many companies find themselves in, right? They're completely dependent on an old application that is just impossible to improve or change.
And if you've lived this, you know the pain. The risk is just huge. You make one tiny change in some spaghetti code that has zero documentation, and bam, the whole thing could come crashing down. Forget about innovation. Trying to add a new feature is a total nightmare. And honestly, it's just a massive drain on resources. All your time, your money, and your best engineers are just tied up trying to keep the lights on.
But what if there was a better way? What if the solution wasn't some huge, risky, all-or-nothing rewrite? What if we could actually look to nature to find a more natural, safer approach? This is where we get to a pattern that's literally inspired by the wild.
And here it is, the Strangler Pattern. The name was coined by the great Martin Fowler, and it's a pattern for replacing an old system, gradually. It gets its name from the strangler fig, which is a plant that starts growing on a host tree. Over time, it wraps its roots all around the host until it completely envelops it and becomes the new tree. And that's exactly what we're going to do with our software. We build a new system around the old one until eventually the old system just withers away.
So how does this strangling approach actually compare to the way things are usually done? You know, the old tear it all down and start from scratch method? Let's take a look at why this is a much safer strategy.
Man, this chart really says it all. On one hand, you've got the big bang rewrite. It's incredibly high risk, it takes forever before you see any results, and it's super disruptive for your users. Plus, it costs a fortune up front. Now look at the Strangler Pattern. It's the complete opposite. The risk is low because you're making small, incremental changes. You're constantly delivering new features to your users. The experience is a smooth transition, not a jarring shock. And you can phase your spending, focusing on the most important parts first. It's just smarter.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, how does this actually work in the real world? Well, let's walk through an example. It's worth pointing out this pattern works best when you can find clear, distinct parts of your application to peel off. If your system is one giant tangled mess, it can be a lot harder. But for most monoliths, this is perfect. Let's see how we'd strangle one.
So here's our patient, a big old monolithic order management system. You see how all those different functions, checkout, payment, inventory, they're all tangled up together inside one single application. Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to carve out the checkout and payment parts and transform them into brand new independent microservices.
And it really comes down to these 4 big steps. First, we're going to put something called an API gateway in front of everything. Second, we'll start building our shiny new services off to the side. Third, and this is the magic part, we use that gateway to slowly, carefully, reroute traffic from the old system to our new one. And fourth, my favorite part, we finally get to decommission those old creaky modules. Let's watch this play out.
All right, step 1. This is foundational. We stick an API gateway right in front of the old monolith. You can think of this gateway as a smart traffic cop that stands between your users and your application. At the very beginning, it does nothing special. It just passes all the requests straight through to the legacy system. But by putting it there, we've given ourselves a central point of control for everything that comes next.
Okay, next up. While the old system is still chugging along, doing its thing, our development teams are busy building the new payment and checkout microservices. They can use all the cool new tech they want, the latest languages, the best databases. And the most important part? This is all happening in parallel. The live application is completely undisturbed.
Now for the fun part, the actual strangulation. We tell our API gateway, hey, from now on, I want you to send some of the traffic to our new services. We can be really strategic about this. Maybe we start with just a single low-risk customer, or maybe we roll it out by country. The point is, it's a gradual, controlled process that lets us test our new services in the real world with minimal risk.
So we keep going, routing more and more users over until eventually 100% of the traffic for checkout and payment is hitting our new microservices. And what does that mean for the old modules inside the monolith? Well, they're not getting any traffic at all. They're obsolete. They have been successfully strangled.
Which, of course, leads to what is probably the most satisfying moment for any developer on a project like this. You get to confidently go into that old code base, highlight that clunky, outdated code, and just hit delete. Goodbye forever.
So let's wrap this all up. What's the big takeaway here? What does all this effort get you in the end?
This quote really just nails it. The Strangler pattern isn't just about deleting old code. It's about gracefully retiring it. It's about paving the way for a brand new architecture that's scalable, efficient, and ready for the future. Now look, it's not a silver bullet. You have to plan carefully, you have to really understand your system, and you need everyone on board. But if you have those things, you can turn a terrifying high-risk project into a manageable, step-by-step process. So the real question is, what part of your system is ready for a little strangulation?